my title is The Undertaker's Daughter. It's a memoir. I was born in a small Pennsylvania town, a coal mining town, with a population of about 5,000. Most of the miners who came to work in the town were from Wales. And they came to the town because they were miners in Wales also, so they were Welsh. And what I remember about the town and the miners was that as they came out of the mines and they would come into town, their faces were black from the coal dust, and all you could see was the white of their eyes. It was rather disturbing as a small child. As I found out later, some of these miners worked for about 20 years, if they worked that long in the mines. They would develop a disease called silicosis, and that is a disease from the coal mining, from the coal dust. And their lifespan was very shortened because of that. Also, we had what they called, years before that, were breaker boys. They were young boys, went into the mines, and they would work where the adults couldn't get into. Some of them would carry a stick, and they were in charge of the donkeys. So if the donkey got away with the coal cart, they'd have to step in and throw that stick under the cart in order to stop the cart. So these young boys also, had a tough life. Also in the town, most of our houses were yellow. You couldn't really have a white house because the slag burning piles were always burning, the piles of slag from the coal mine. And it was always a smell. We had a sulfur smell constantly in the town. My father came from Wales. My grandfather came from Wales also, but he was the Undertaker. His daughter, my father's sister, was the first female Undertaker licensed in the state of Pennsylvania. So my father also became an Undertaker. So I grew up in the funeral home, which was kind of exciting. Not exciting, but it was my life. As we were growing up, my brother and I might be getting into trouble sometimes. So our father said, okay, well, let's quiet down, lay on the couch, put your hands on your belly, and he closed my eyes. And we didn't realize what that meant, but it kind of was fun, and it was a game for us. So one Christmas Eve, we also had a beautiful Christmas tree my mother had just decorated, but lo and behold, my father had a call, and the Christmas tree had to come down because we had a customer, shall I say. My mother also had a slight loss of hearing. So one day she answered the phone, and she thought it was Mrs. Smith who had passed. So my father got in his hearse, went over to Mrs. Smith, who was okay. And it was Mrs. Jones. So that was rather embarrassing to my father. Also, the hearse. As a child in elementary school, my favorite thing was for my father to take me to school in the hearse. I thought I was like a princess because I sat in this big black car. And I loved going to school with my father. So, of course, my father's favorite sayings were, don't be afraid of the dead, it's the living that can hurt you. And I love that statement. Then came dating, and some boys were kind of afraid to come into our house, so they would meet me outside. Of course, it didn't curtail my dating. I had lots of boyfriends. I went to college, and after college, we moved to New Jersey and out of the little small town. And more mature I became. I met friends in New Jersey, and we skied. And that's where I met my husband and friend. We have 6 grandchildren. 3 sons, 6 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter. And that's history.